And don't shout out the Ministry of Wrestling podcast.
The Ministry of Wrestling podcast. Do you know what I think about the Ministry of Wrestling podcast? It's my favourite podcast, and I'm yet to listen to it. One day I will listen to it. That's the deal, right? So right now, if you're looking at my bald head and you're not listening to the Ministry of Wrestling podcast, I'm ashamed of you. I'm disappointed in you. You've made me sad. And the only way you can sort this out is by listening to
the Ministry of Wrestling podcast.
Do it now and subscribe. And do other things with the thing.
All right, thank you. Stop that.
Hey yo. It's the first recording of 2024, but you know what that means? We're here. It's still black and white, but it's not the usual MO Dub t-shirt. You're going to have to forgive me. We're on a very tight schedule, and I'm not going to delay this man before he's not available for any following recordings. But yes, it would be the end of his world, but that's not what we're here for. We're talking about World's End. Yeah, AJ Cheese is still here in 2024, baby. That's the way. Hey, I even said baby. But yes, one AJ Anthony Jordan.
I'm Double V, the Viceroy, Verisimilitude Nico Lero, and I'm going to be talking about verisimilitude a lot today.
So here's the thing. There's a lot to talk about in the world of wrestling, but we're going to keep it very focused on one moment, because pay-per-views ended with World's End from AEW, and it was the grand revelation of the devil. I'm going to let you take the reins, because you put it into our group that you thought this was a pure stroke of genius. So I'm going to let you run, and I'm not opposed to it entirely, but I'll give my points.
So the reason I call myself Double V, the Viceroy of Verisimilitude, is a kind of fun YouTube name. What is verisimilitude? It is the appearance of being real. And one of the things that I often criticize wrestling as a whole for, because that's what wrestling is. It is an entertainment of verisimilitude. It is us being under the belief that a certain storyline is happening through acts of physical violence. And the better the wrestler is, the better they can get you to buy into their story and buy into the act of violence that they're carrying out over a long period or even a short period in the ring. That is essentially what wrestling is, an entertainment of verisimilitude, right? So we've become, sometimes through faults of promotions, sometimes just by sheer fact of being wrestling fans for as long as we've been wrestling fans, right? We are now entering kind of the autumn of seen it all before, because it is the law of diminishing returns. There's very little now that can make us go, what the hell, as wrestling fans? It can trigger a nostalgic memory. Look at The Rock on Raw. It can bring back some nice feelings. It can be like, oh, I haven't seen that spot or that angle for a while. It can be something new and crazy, like Hangman Adam Page becoming a vampire. But those vampire moments are very few and far between in the modern age. As I said, partly sometimes due to promotions and us being conditioned, which is literally what our whole prediction show is about, right? It's us conditioning ourselves to think like a booker, to think how a promoter would think, to try and guess what the angle of the match is going to be. At the Ministry of Wrestling, we go way beyond just the kayfabe presented to us. We go deeper than that. We try to think like the bookers of where are they heading with that angle? Where are they heading with that storyline? That's literally what we do, right? And as such, we've become conditioned to think a certain way. And my impression with this devil line, this devil angle that they've been doing, is that it has all culminated so perfectly by being worked, and the people working us knowing how, and this is why I keep on saying that the passive fans, like these imaginary passive fans, don't matter. It's because of angles like this. We've been treated in a way where we've been, as I said, worked on multiple levels, and I'm going to break them down in a moment. We've been worked on multiple levels because the booker, and I give the same praise if this was WWE. This is not about one company being better than the other. This is just like an isolated single event that just worked perfectly. Believe me, if Triple H had done this, and I don't think this is beyond him, it just happens to be all the pieces fell into place so perfectly. Any promoter in the world doing this type of storytelling gets a pass. Long form storytelling, AJ, in my opinion, is not just about long for the sake of long. not firing shots, but you know where I'm going with that, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Let's break it down what we've seen over the course of the last few weeks and months. We've seen MJF since Wembley. Let's go before Wembley, actually, because that makes it even better. MJF and Adam Cole started as enemies. They had their title match. Adam Cole did the whole 5 more minutes spot, and MJF said, no. Following on from that was the announcement of this tag team turmoil madness that happened. And against their will, you know, it's pitting people who aren't normally in tag teams together. And against their will, Tony Khan put Adam Cole and MJF in a tag team together. So they became reluctant partners. This is pre-Wembley. So this is going back a while, yeah? From that, these two started a complete summer bromance, which transformed MJF before our eyes completely organically into being one of the most not despised, I didn't say the word despised because he's loved, he's the kind of villain you love to hate, but one of the most despisable heels in the company, organically becoming a face through actually quite heartfelt moments, like when they were playing the video game together, and Adam Cole's like, you've never played a video game with your friends? And that line where MJF says, didn't really have any friends. You genuinely kind of felt for the guy. So it's like, okay, I'm starting to be on your side. That's the sign of you working me into believing that you're a face. And then the summer bromance started, and it culminated with them at Wembley becoming Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. The kangaroo kick. These are all very face things. So this sleazy little scumbag from Long Island became our scumbag. He became a face. The biggest heel in the business became a face completely organically with the help of Adam Cole making him see the light. And after Wembley, when they had their match for the world title, which ended with MJF winning and Adam Cole being like, you are the better man. They stayed friends when we all thought, oh, there's going to be a work here. No, they stayed friends. Then MJF had the gauntlet laid out in front of him. Now I'm going back through history here just to make my point clear, in case you're wondering, like, why are we just doing revisionist history?
It's perfect storytelling to show long form storytelling and what it done.
Literally that. He's got it down. It started with a title match, which Adam Cole lost, asked for more time, didn't win, got put as a reluctant tag team, and MJF organically, from a week-to-week basis, became a face. They won the tag team titles together. They had, on the same night, a world championship match together, which ended with MJF winning, and they stayed friends. And then it seemed everyone started gunning for Max. Everyone. And this is where the genius of this starts. Because you've got the bromance now established, the two besties, best friends, inseparable, right? Then MJF starts having this gauntlet put down in front of him. You've got Swerve Strickland teasing that he's chasing him. Jay White's after him. Wardlow's after him. Remember that name, Wardlow, because we're going to go full circle on this. Then something happens in a parallel here that makes us go, what? Have AEW lost their mind? Or specifically, has Tony Khan lost his mind? We were all bitching about it on our wrestling group. Samoa Joe just did a Keith Lee and gave up the Ring of Honor TV title because reasons. What? We could pull up messages now. Leon, what we all thought at the time correctly, was saying, what the hell was the point of that? So Joe's just going to drop his title. Yeah, they're going to put him in the world title picture. It's not like Joe's going to win. You see where I'm going with this? That wasn't even part of Max's story. That ran in parallel. Then Joe got inserted into the world title picture. Max beat him. And you think, okay, that's Samoa Joe done. Exactly as we all thought. That him dropping the Ring of Honor title was completely pointless. And then this devil thing started. Now, we were all worried that it had a kind of tones of retribution to it. And I'll be the first to say that it did go through ebbs and flows. There were some parts of it that I really liked. There were some parts of it that I thought were terrible. The whole turning the lights on and off, then you started to see them toying with us like, is the devil MJF? Because this devil is going after all of MJF's gauntlet opponents, right? And then the devil attacks MJF, but as Roddy Strong, again, an important name, as Roderick Strong likely points out. Yeah, but we didn't actually see the devil attack MJF. With all the other instances, we saw the devil attack. Oh, and going back a bit to Roderick Strong, part of the Adam Cole summer bromance, Adam, was Roderick Strong third wheeling the two of them. I'm your best friend. And then MJF and Adam Cole distancing themselves from Roderick Strong. And that whole saga when Adam Cole got injured and busted his ankle up at the start of this crazy gauntlet run, where Roderick Strong was kind of manipulating his former friend into coming and helping him do tasks at home. Neck strong, right? Adam Cole's got a busted ankle. Roderick Strong had a busted up neck. And then Adam Cole had enough of him. So like, cool. So the summer bromance is in full swing now. He's got rid of Roderick Strong. He's got rid of this toxic friend. He can now be full friends with MJF, go do his recovery and come back and win the world Ring of Honor tag. Come back and defend the Ring of Honor tag team titles. Yes? All makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he's got rid of the toxic friend, long live the summer bromance. And then we come back now to this whole devil thing. And then one of MJF's promises to Adam Cole is, well, I'm going to keep these Ring of Honor titles for you, while you're gone. And then he loses them very quickly with his own finishing move to the Devil's Minions. And then Samoa Joe shows up again going, I'm going to protect you. You're now my property. I want you coming into my world title rematch at full strength. And bearing in mind, in the background, while Joe and MJF are building up to their match this last weekend, you've got Swerve Strickland in the back going, a guy who's, again, organically come over. So you think, Swerve could be the guy to take it off him. We all thought that, like, Swerve could be the one. It would make sense. Swerve, just like LA Knight, has got himself over as F. And then you get reminded of the Wardlow promos. It's like, yeah, and that goes back 2 years now, Wardlow and MJF. They've got history. They've got serious bad blood. So again, because of the way, bringing it full circle now, AJ, the way we've been pre-programmed to think, okay, so they're setting up this gauntlet, which means MJF is going to beat Samoa Joe. Case in point, look how we all predicted that match. MJF is going to beat Samoa Joe. Then he's got to somehow get through Wardlow, and then he's likely going to lose to Swerve Strickland. Alternatively, he could hold on to it until Wembley and then likely lose to Will Ospreay in the Wembley final. All of us have been guilty of booking months and months and months ahead. But we never stopped to see that everything was in front of us. Because the devil, as it turns out, is Adam Cole. Now, when some people think, oh, that's the obvious move, sometimes, and you've heard me on numerous occasions say, I haven't had my expectations subverted. It's so safe. It's so obvious. I've laid it a lot at WWE's feet, and I've laid it sometimes at AEW's feet. This is one of the occasions where, yeah, it was the obvious thing that Adam Cole was the devil, but it was the right thing that Adam Cole was the devil. What was interesting was who all the minions were. Roderick Strong, who they worked us with completely by making it look like they weren't friends anymore. Wardlow was the biggest work, because you're thinking all along, Wardlow's coming for Max. He's the next guy after Samoa Joe. He's Max's next big opponent, because we've got all those promos in the back where Wardlow's saying, I'm going to take everything from you. He kind of lived up to that promise, just not in the way we thought. Then you've got, obviously, the Kingdom, which are Roderick Strong's guys, and you've got Adam Cole now as the devil, having gone through one of the best summer bromances, the guy who is responsible for turning the most devious heel in the business face, bringing it all the way back to that first match they had where he said 5 more minutes. And the look he gave him when he was sitting in the devil's chair, the dirt sheets have reported on this to be true, but I clocked it when I saw it, is the exact same look. The physical face he was pulling is the exact same look he gave him when he said 5 more minutes. That's not a coincidence. That was all carefully, meticulously planned for the people who are watching carefully. So we're left in a position where the guy who has become a face organically has been backstabbed by the guy who made him a face, thereby making him a completely fallible character once again, because he's likely going to go heel again. Because if you think about it, break it down this way, what made him a champion? Being a heel and a bit of help from William Regal, but being a heel. Now he's gone face and it's cost him everything. It's not just his history, it's the fact that he was a face that's cost him everything. So he's now without friends, he's now without his title, and he's got to become a heel again. And we're all going to be here for it. Samoa Joe, a guy who the whole wrestling industry has said for the last decade, how in the hell was that guy not a world champion at WWE? Samoa Joe is now a world champion, so you've pleased the fans too. Adam Cole, historically speaking, does his best work when he's in a stable. Undisputed Era. These are just facts. Adam Cole's biggest stand-up partner in the Undisputed Era was Roderick Strong, who he's now aligned himself with again. So we're giving people fan service too. You've just given an Adam Cole stable diesel Mega Man muscle in the shape of Wardlow and swerved us all in the process because we all thought that was going to be MJF's next opponent. You've worked us now for over half a year into thinking that this bromance was real. So much so that even though we all thought, oh, it could be Adam Cole, but the ankle, is that a work? Is that not a work? Oh, it could be Jungle Boy. We thought it, but we were never sure. This is genius. Every single piece, from Joe giving up his title, to the summer bromance, to being misdirected by Wardlow, to having a full face run that happened organically, completely implode, to having Adam Cole doing his best work as a heel in a stable again. Every single part of this has fallen into place. And the craziest thing about it all, when I first saw it, I hated it. I thought, MJF loses his title to a coquina clutch to Samoa Joe, and then you wake up and you're like, no, that makes perfect sense. Joe should be a world champion. He's one of the greatest TNA champions, maybe the greatest TNA champion of all time. This is honoring a lifetime legacy work. Adam Cole in his stable again. Yeah, MJF about to become a heel again and do his best work again. Or maybe start working this with the bidding war of 2024. Because if you notice, he's now been taken off the AEW official roster. It's a work. He's just recovering because he's quite badly beaten up. But the working is continuing. This is genius. Freaking genius. I hope all that was clear.
My thing, for the longest while, Adam Cole has always been at the forefront. I never believed it was Jungle Boy. They got me, and I'll tell you where they swerved me, was the angle where Adam was in his corner against Jay White. Because the temptation was there, but he didn't turn. He didn't swerve. I thought they might have gone down the swerve angle. The part of the devil is always good because it felt a bit, if I was to quote WWE, it's like Kane having to face himself, but told a lot better. You know, the two Kanes wasn't a great story, but he's facing who he's been, and that was the part behind it. I think when the move that put him out to lose the tag titles was dropped, I was like, this has got something to do with Cole again. It started to point in all the right directions. My beef with it is, okay, you said it before we recorded. Excuse me. We didn't see the devil walking. We all saw the devil standing. So that doesn't lean to it. Even though, if anything, the devil could have been a standing devil, or everyone wore a devil mask. Just because we saw that devil doesn't mean it was this. It's the mastermind behind it. My argument is, do I have a problem with Joe being champ? No. Short of Adam wanting to be, I'm going to take everything from you. It doesn't work for me in that angle, because why? Okay, there's a pleasure doing business with you, and it's that. But we've now got a champ who, unless Samoa Joe is the one who's really the leader of this devil faction or what have you, but it's literally Adam Cole with Kingdom. Like, he's part of Kingdom for the longest while, so it's a reuniting of one of his ROH teams, and thankfully on a grander stage. But it troubles me in the sense of, it feels like there's not a payoff for, I mean, Adam Cole's lines could be, it's bigger than titles, I got rid of him. That is the line I can see being his thing. It's bigger than titles, I've got rid of MJF. And
all the pleasure doing business with you. Have you thought that maybe he made a deal with Joe that he gets the first title and Joe has a very short title reign?
I mean, look, I get it, but then we're talking of like two heels, and this is where I think MJF will remain face. He's got no choice but to remain face in the spite of it until these guys are all there. Maybe a long way down, it's that, but I see his next title shot definitely as a face. There's no way he's doing it as a heel. There's too many of them there.
Depends who's holding.
I mean,
I don't think we're going to see MJF holding the title for a while, mate.
Joe Ospreay will be a big match at Wembley, but
Cole Ospreay could be a huge match as well.
Yeah, I just feel, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like for guys like Kingdom, and I say this with love for each member of Kingdom, it works. I feel like Adam Cole has been cut short. I feel like Wardlow has been cut short, where you're in line for that. And even for the benefits of Adam Cole could be closer to recovery than we think, and he is next in line for a title shot. Wardlow remains captain mid when it looked like he was on the cusp of becoming a main eventer again. I'm not saying he was going to win. Yeah. I knew he was going to win. And that's what kind of troubles me with it. It felt, is it the safe option? Yeah. But I also felt like, let's build something more as opposed to cutting people off. I was shocked in the most pleasant way to see Joe become a champ. But with the questions being, but why? I get it that it could.
Well, he's injured. We're breaking the fourth wall here. We're going beyond kayfabe. MJF's bloody injured. He can't move.
Well, this has to be a problem in itself then. That is a thing. I wasn't sure what is real from what hasn't been real. The only thing I know is that everyone's talked about the bidding war, but that guy's not going anywhere.
No, he's signed. He's not going anywhere.
I knew that for the longest while. I'm ready for everyone to be saying, look out for MJ. Like, people's going to expect him to be this, that, and the other. The only one I can guarantee
MJF surprise entrant to the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
wait for that.
The only one I can guarantee you is Sean Spears at number 10. I guarantee you that all day long. I don't know if he's going to be Ty Dillinger again, but he's going to be number 10. Right? He's going to do that one more time for the Royal Rumble. Andrade will also turn up. MJF ain't going nowhere. That is fact. I just felt a bit empty by it all, if I'm honest. I get the angle, and I was like, okay, well played. It's nice to see it, but I felt, because we've always been at an angle of Adam potentially turning. You knew, if you knew that when it came, it's a bit like RK Bro. You knew Riddle was the one to turn should he had still been here at this moment. It's the same here. It's like MJF is too solidified as a face now for Adam Cole to be stung by him.
That's what we were saying a year ago about him as a heel.
Who? MJF?
Yeah.
I mean, look, there comes a point in every character. Look at The Rock, look at Austin, where you're so over, you can't help it. Even The Miz has got over as a face sometimes, and he has to go into doing some dastardly crap to get back into heel mode. You know, it's swinging. MJF was too high. It was too high. He was the name from the minute we were talking about him versus Moxley won, and we were like, MJF should have won. You know, that's how much was in there, even though he was the heel. That was only going to continue building, and it did. And he became champ at the right time. He had done everything possible as a heel. That it had to be Adam Cole to turn. You know, we had hints of Undisputed Era. He broke away from all of that, but you knew it was coming. And that's what kind of bugs me, because I'm like, oh, I knew it. As much as I didn't, because I'm like, he's not ready, I still knew it, kind of. Did you get the kind of balance? I was like,
and I wanted it to be like Dolph Ziggler just turning up for shiggles, or?
I don't know.
This
My
made
weird
sense.
my weird bit is the Devil should have been the one to probably come for that title. And I just feel like a couple of guys got cut short. And Joe winning, just storyline wise, I like it. For Joe's angle, I'm going to protect you. It sounded very Drew McIntyre, but in the end, I don't care. I'm here for gold. That's totally fine by me.
Yeah.
It's the pleasure doing business with you. Just kind of, I'm like, what was the end game in that? And do you know what? One line on Dynamite tomorrow might give it away. But right now, I'm just a bit like, yeah. I don't hate it. I'm just slightly disappointed in it. I understand everything you said, but it left me slightly, okay. So
The reason I'm high on it is because I think it's one of the best examples of not Roman Reigns long, but long form storytelling with multiple angles coming to work for maybe not for an individual basis, like you've pointed out, which I hadn't thought about, to be fair. But as an overall story, it worked for me tremendously.
The biggest swerve of it all, and again, not Strickland, was Joe walking away. But Wardlow was one thing. I'm not going to lie. And I remember looking at this because I was like, is it Undisputed Era reunited? You knew there was one jacked brother underneath that mask.
I thought it was Brian Cage. I thought it was the Pinnacle coming back to screw MJF. I never thought Wardlow, because I was so sure that Wardlow is going to get a shot at MJF's title. And last time Wardlow and MJF went one-on-one, Wardlow steamrolled him. And because this is MJF's gauntlet, he's now got to find a way to overcome this behemoth of a man. That was the swerve. It's like, you are literally setting me up to think, well, last time these two met, everyone thought MJF was done in AEW. Everyone thought that was him putting the other guy over on his way out. That's how bad that beatdown was. I was like, so they're going to go here again and we're going to get a different result, obviously. But how? And the intrigue was already there. How does he beat Wardlow? And that was the biggest swerve for me. It's like, you had me eating so hard that was going to be, because I'm programmed to know that champions go through gauntlets before they lose to a guy who's got over organically.
But then here comes the other side of it. Joe being the shocker, this story being the shocker, is it as a result of injury that it became a shock? Like,
do you know what? And if it is, even more credit to them, because the fact that you've managed to do that and still make me buy the fact that it's a really well put together story, well done. Sometimes you just have you know. Look at Omega getting injured recently with his diverticulitis, right? They couldn't do any work or story around that. They literally had to get Jericho coming on going, yo, Kenny's unwell, and we'll figure out what happens in the future. They had to completely break the verisimilitude and go full reality.
Yeah.
So if they've managed to work this storyline specifically around MJF's injury, even more credit to them in my view.
I get it. But guys, the question remains. Where do you stand? I'm going to put myself on middle ground on this. I'm not going to say I hate it, but I was slightly disappointed. We have Double V, who absolutely loves it. I'm going to go that way. I've got to remember the cameras that way. So we've got Double V, who loves it. So where are you? Love, to quote MJF, mid, or do you despise it? Like, there are many angles. Who did you want the Devil to be? Dolph's not a bad shout. But
I
yeah,
would have liked Dolph. I'm not gonna lie, that would have been fun.
It would have been cool. But yeah, hit us up, guys. We'd love to hear from you. There it is. It's at Ministry of Wrestling, at MOW News on I was gonna say Twitter, but on X. And yeah, just check out the rest of our content. 2024 has just started, and we've just started for the year. Trust me, we ain't done yet. So yeah, until the next week, I am the one AJ Anthony Jordan.
Apologies, we couldn't talk about The Rock, but we'll do that in the coming weeks when more's been established. I'm Double V, Nico Luro. We'll see you guys very soon.
See ya.